Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and unpack the totally fascinating kind of dual reality of Spain's digital evolution. When we usually think about a country's digital transformation, we picture this straightforward, easy journey from outdated systems to some shiny high-tech future. But looking at the European Commission's 2026 Digital Decade Country Report for Spain, the reality on the ground is way more complex. And frankly, it's a lot more interesting. We're looking at a nation that is absolutely sprinting ahead in certain areas, while at the exact same time trying to untangle some pretty massive bottlenecks in others. Right now, Spain has exactly 67 targeted measures standing between its current economy and a fully transformed digital future. 67. That number is basically the beating heart of their national roadmap. It's not just some vague political promise, right? It's a highly structured, step-by-step blueprint. Think of it like a giant puzzle. These 67 measures are the literal stepping stones designed to completely overhaul the country's tech landscape, impacting everything from, say, how a local bakery does its daily accounting, all the way to how the government protects your personal data.
So, let's kick things off with Section 1, Spain's Digital Paradox, where high-speed infrastructure meets lagging adoption. The European Commission's report hits the nail right on the head here. It basically says that Spain benefits from some seriously strong digital assets, but the country isn't fully capitalizing on those strengths yet. And honestly, this is the absolute crux of the issue. Imagine building this incredible, state-of-the-art, multi-lane superhighway, right? But then finding out that a huge chunk of the businesses in the country are just choosing to drive horse-drawn carriages on the dirt road right next to it. The foundation is world-class, but the actual utilization, especially on the business side, falls surprisingly short of what it could be.
Which brings us to Section 2, the infrastructure advantage, building a robust foundation. Because to really understand this gap, we first have to appreciate the incredible groundwork Spain has already laid down. What's actually wild here is how Spain is already a clear leader in the basics. Their connectivity infrastructure, it literally surpasses the European Union average across the board. The population is highly digitally skilled. On top of that, their digital public services aren't just well-developed, citizens actually use and trust them. Add in a huge number of information and communication technology, or ICT graduates pouring out of universities every year, and you've basically got all the ingredients for an absolute digital powerhouse.
But actually, scratch that, here is where the story takes a bit of a turn. Section 3, the corporate digital gap, where businesses fall behind.
Yes, everyday citizens have high-speed internet in their pockets, but the corporate sector is a totally different story. Spanish businesses are leaving serious money and efficiency on the table by ignoring advanced tech. This right here perfectly captures that central conflict. On side A, you've got this amazing public infrastructure. And to be fair, small and medium enterprises, SMEs, actually do pretty well with basic digital stuff. But look over at side B, there is a severe lack of high-level digital adoption, especially a massive gap when we're talking about cloud technology. And despite having all those brilliant tech graduates we just talked about, the actual share of IT specialists currently employed in the broader labor market, it's still sitting below the EU average. The talent is there, the infrastructure is there, but corporate adoption is just lagging.
So how do we fix this? Well, the EU handed over a pretty specific, targeted to-do list to modernize the corporate sector. First up, they emphasize aggressively supporting SME digitalization to finally close that cloud adoption gap. Second, they're pushing to foster the semiconductor industry and prioritize European quantum hardware development, which makes total sense since Spain recently approved their quantum technology strategy for 2025 to 2030. Third, they highlight an urgent need to boost enterprise cybersecurity, because right now awareness is only at a medium level and protective measures are falling behind. And finally, they really want to see Spain retain those tech graduates and strengthen specialist roles in the job market. It's an aggressive list for sure, but it's exactly what they need. And to be fair, we can see the Spanish government taking direct, immediate action on this. Just look at this recent move from the Ministry for Digital Transformation. They've launched the second call for their Digital Generation SMEs program. This is explicitly built to promote training as a lever of digital transformation for small and medium-sized businesses. It's a highly targeted effort to upskill the workforce right where the EU said they were weakest, inside everyday local businesses.
Okay, let's pivot away from the corporate side for a second. Section 4, Citizens' Hopes and Fears, looking at the human element of digitalization. Because a tech revolution isn't just about servers and corporate balance sheets, right? It's deeply personal. According to the Eurobarometer, a massive 78% of Spaniards see this digital policy as a high priority.
And these numbers aren't just dry statistics. They show this massive, unified demand from the public for protection and equity. Look at this. An incredible 92% say protecting online privacy and security is their absolute top priority. Close behind that, 90% want to make sure digital tools are accessible to absolutely everyone. And 87%, they just want this tech used to make everyday life easier. Perhaps the most telling stat of all, though, is that 94% are demanding stronger online protection for kids. The public totally wants this tech, but they want it to be safe.
And honestly, that desire for safety goes into overdrive when we start talking about advanced tech like artificial intelligence. 79% of Spaniards agree AI needs to be carefully regulated for safety, even if that means slowing developers down. When you ask them specifically about generative AI, privacy and data protection take the biggest slice of their anxiety at 44%. Then, you've got 29% worried about potential job losses and 27% concerned about accuracy or fake news. The human element of this digital decade is basically defined by a huge desire for progress, but it's heavily tempered by a demand for security.
All right, wrapping all this up in Section 5, Investing in the Future, the Financial Roadmap to 2026.
To resolve these real public fears, upgrade the national infrastructure, and finally close that stubborn corporate gap, the government is putting some serious capital on the table. We are talking about a staggering 33.8 billion euros allocated to Spain's national digital roadmap. This is definitely not pocket change. It represents a monumental effort, pulling together massive resources to forcefully push the Spanish economy into the next era. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. The clock is literally ticking. 87% of these roadmap measures are set to expire by the end of 2026. That corresponds to 26.23 billion euros of public funding, which is 98% of the total public budget for this whole roadmap. The government and the corporate sector don't have decades to figure this out. They have a very narrow, rapidly closing window to execute those 67 measures we talked about earlier.
Now, if you're wondering where all this cash is coming from, a huge chunk of it, exactly 22.2 billion euros, stems directly from Spain's post-pandemic recovery and resilience plan. This is money specifically earmarked for advancing the country's digital transformation, which just goes to show how heavily European recovery funds are being leveraged to modernize the state from the ground up.
And the return on investment here is designed to be super dynamic. It's almost like a domino effect. First, you have the direct economic effects stemming from Spain's own plan, estimated at 38.8 billion euros. But because Europe's economies are so intertwined, Step 2 shows an additional 2.26 billion euros generated purely from spillover effects. Basically, Spain reaps benefits because other EU countries are also upgrading their tech. This cross-pollination leads us directly to the final, combined economic impact.
When you add it all up, this highly focused, really aggressive investment strategy is projected to generate an incredible 41.14 billion euros in total economic impact. It's a massive financial engine designed to turn Spain's strong foundational assets into genuine, widespread economic prosperity.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, it all comes down to this one vital question. We've seen the world-class infrastructure. We've seen the corporate hesitation around things like cloud tech and AI, and we've seen exactly what the public demands regarding privacy and security. With that 2026 deadline looming right around the corner, will this massive 33.8 billion euro investment push be enough to truly transform Spanish business culture in time? The foundation is built, the money is there, now it's a race to see if the entire country will finally choose to drive on the superhighway.